Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be working with gel medium, a selection of paints and colours along with some embellishments to create this mixed media piece. So without further ado, let's get into how I created this piece. Now I started out with some gel medium which I'm mixing with a touch of white paint, and I'm just using any old white paint that I have to hand. So the one I'm using is an Americana high flow paint, which is quite runny, so I'm just mixing it in with the gel medium. So the gel medium will make it quite thick. As you can see, you get a lot of depth to this, so it creates really good texture. So I'm just going to make sure this is well and truly mixed before then moving on to mixing the green colour. So as well as using some paint, I've also got some powder pigments left over from when I was doing all the resin, and I'm going to mix this in with the gel medium also because it's the perfect colour and it's the exact colour that I'm looking for. So when you're mixing things with gel medium, you can use paints, inks, powder pigments, anything that you have, or even food colouring can mix with gel medium. So if you've got the right colour, then all you need to do is just add it to the mixture and just make sure that that's well and truly mixed in. So I'm using the back side of a lid because the gel medium will come off once dry, and I'm just using a palette knife to mix that in. So I realised that I needed a bit more of the green colour because I'm going to be using more of that than the white. So I'm just going to mix a bit more of this. And the good thing with gel medium is that most of them will dry clear. So this one I'm using, the Chroma Acryl, will actually dry clear, but you need to just double check on the packaging whether it will dry clear or it will remain white, because if it's white it'll dull the colours. So at least when this dries, the colours will become more vibrant again. And as you can see, I'm just using a palette knife to apply the texture to the board. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I've just flipped the board round and I'm now applying the white to the underside using a palette knife once again. And I realised that we needed a little bit more of this, so I've just using the gel medium directly out the tub and I'm just applying this on top because the board underneath is white anyway, so I don't need to mix any more white paint because that will show through anyway. So once I've got a generous layer of texture in both colours, I'm now going to lightly run my fingers across the surface to gently blend those two colours together. Now I don't want to overblend them, but I do want it to have a nice transition from one colour to the next. So now that I'm happy with the blend, it's time to add the embellishments. So I'm using some frosted blue pebbles that I got from my local Bunnings store, so you should be able to get a similar product in your local hardware store or garden centre or somewhere like that. I found these in the garden section because these are used to place in the top of pots or to put into vases and things like that, so you'll find these in the garden section. And then I'm also using some clear quartz which I got from Kmart. Now as always, I will leave a link in the description below of the products that I'm using, and I will see if I can find links on Amazon for similar products if they don't have the same one. So all I'm doing here is I'm just adding a touch more gel medium to the bottom of the quartz, and I'm just making sure that there's plenty on there to help it bind to the board. And because the gel medium and paint mixture of the background is still wet, this should stick quite well to the board. So next I'm using a spoon to spoon some crushed glass chips in between the quartz, and then I'm using the back side of the spoon to push that down into the gel medium. Now some of the stones will not be touching the gel medium and will fall away when it's dried, but you can come back later and fix this by adding some more gel medium to make sure that all of your stones are well and truly stuck together on the board. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, so I'm just using the same spoon and I'm just drizzling the crushed glass around these stones, and again I'm going to use my fingers and the spoon to push this down into the gel medium to get it to stick as best as possible. So it was at this point that I realised that it was just lacking a little something, so I decided to add a touch more gel medium to the surface, and I'm going to add a touch more colour to create a bit more contrast and a little bit more interest on both sides of the board. So as you can see, I'm just using the palette knife to then apply more of this texture. Now the base colour is still wet, so you will get a little bit of mixing between the two. So as you can see, again I'm using my fingers and I'm getting a bit more texture, and then I've just dipped my finger into the powder pigment and I'm now just dragging this across the surface. And this is just going to give a subtle colour in the white areas, but it won't be too overpowering. And then I'm going to just blend again between the two colours, and I'm just going to add a touch more white just to pull that through so we've got a nice blend between those two colours. So I decided to add a touch of turquoise liquid pigment to this also, so I've just added a couple of drops to the surface, and again I'm using my fingers to pull this through to give it a little bit more depth, so it makes it feel as though it's water and it's a little bit deeper the further out that you go. So I'm just turning this around so you can see better, so that it's not too much glare in the top corner, and I'm just using my fingers to just drag that through. And I'm just adding one drop at a time because it does go quite far and you don't need a lot. Now you can use ink or even paints, whatever you've got to hand, but you don't need a lot, because all you want to do is you want to just drag this across the surface of the board to just give it a little bit of extra definition and a little bit more texture and depth. So I continue doing a little bit more blending between the two colours, again just applying a little bit of pigment to the outside edge of the green and blending that into the white, and I'm just going to pull that through with my fingers once again, and I'll continue to do that until I'm happy with the design, and then I'll place it to one side to dry and come back to it tomorrow to finish it off. So everything is now dry and it's now time to finish this off. So what I'm doing is I'm actually adding a touch more gel medium onto the surface of the crushed glass, and I'm just going to brush this on and just pick up any loose bits of crushed glass, and then by using the brush it'll get a coating and then it will stick to the others, but it also helps bind the rest of it down, so by adding the gel medium. Now as you can see, I'm using quite a generous layer. Now don't worry, this does dry clear, so you will see the colour through the gel medium once it's dry, but I'll just go over this and just make sure that there's a good coating over so that we don't get any loose chips coming away. As always, I hope you enjoyed this quick mixed media project. If so, please give it a thumbs up, or better still, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be bringing you many more ideas and projects that I'm going to be working on, and I've also got a whole heap of different projects within my channel, so pop on over and take a look at those. So until the next time, I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.